Hey girl. Good night, good night, good night. What's a guan, my friend? You good? How's it going, sis? You there? First one live. Let me see. Let me see. I don't have that. Um, I still don't know how to do it, my friend. Um, Let me see. General. I don't know how to do it, friend. I'm trying. I don't know how to do it. Show what here? Okay. Okay. Ah. That way, okay. How's it going? You see what the topic is about, right? I'm going to share it out now. From 7:30? No, you haven't been here from 7:30. Hi, Lisa. Good night. How are you? Thanks for joining. Tell me if you guys are hearing me well. Hearing me very well, right? Let me know. I'm going to share it out to my pages. So they could come along and join me. Right? You're good? You hear me good? Am I sounding good or muffled, or how do I sound? How do I sound to you guys? Sending it all out because it's easier to use my phone. Sounds good, sounds good. I'm glad you were able to make it. I'm so happy you're here and I'm not all by myself. Right? So, let me send it to my news feed. And please, as you guys come in, like and share the live so that others could get an opportunity to hear about this topic and my struggles, as it says, because that's basically what it's been. It's been a struggle. But over the period of time, I've learned how to deal with it, and hasn't been easy. But I'm getting there, one day at a time. There's a song that I, keep dear to my heart that says just that, one day at a time, sweet Jesus. And trust me, from when I was diagnosed to now, that song, has helped me a lot, right? So I'm going to see if I could share it out to a few people on my Instagram, and then I'll get right into it. Okay. Let me send it out. Send it out. Not to anyone. Join me now on YouTube at Short and Spicy Nicks, speaking about my struggles with depression. Join me now. Right? Sending it to my story. So true, Lisa. Like 100%, one day at a time. Seriously, one day at a time. Were you here for the first live, Lisa? sending it out to a few people on Instagram because I can't seem to send it. Oh yeah, I'm gonna go and do it. Send them. What would you say? Do a broadcast. I'm just gonna do a video and put it on my thing right now. I'm wondering if I should go live as well on Instagram. You know, I don't think I'll be able to do that. And I don't know if I want to try doing that. I'm just going to send a message and say that I'm going live. Oh, you saw the repeat? Okay. Sounds good. Going live now on YouTube at Short and Spicy Nicks. Join me as I speak about my struggles with depression. Have a great day. Night, I should say. See you there. One moment. So how have you guys' night been? How's it been? You guys ate supper already? It's 8 o'clock. I gave my children their supper, but I haven't eaten yet. You know, I was on the road today because my 19-year-old consistently takes my television out the room after he broke his. So now it's not, mine is not working. And I had to bring it out today to go get it looked at. So I guess tomorrow the man will let me know. And it's a Chinese gentleman. I go, Mr. Chin. You know, in Jamaica, every Chinese, if we don't know their name, we call them Mr. Chin. We have no manners, yo. I'm like, Mr. Chin, this is like the third time I'm bringing my TV. I'm tired, man. What's going on? This is the last one, guys, and then I'm getting into it, okay? And no more hold up. There we go. So, as the topic says, a moment. Thank you, friend. Yes. As the topic says, my struggles with depression. So, growing up in Jamaica, I was very kids. Okay, I'm not sure what that means. Okay, Lisa, I guess you'll probably write it down what that means. But growing up in Jamaica, I was all over the place, you know, because as I said in my first live, I was not brought up by my mother. And I was taken from my grandmother and brought to the country and stuff. And from going through all of that, I was a very lonely child. I had my cousins and stuff around me, but I was still missing stuff, missing something. I felt that void, you know, in my heart. From a little child, I felt it. I felt it. So after everything happened and I ran away from my grand aunt or whatever, I was brought. Well, go on, Roger. Yes, Roger, I know. Thank you so much. Thank you. Love you so much, brother. Love you. Thank you. Ashika, you know how I already, you see me? My friend, my brethren, trust me. I don't know. I'm going to figure it out, Ashika, how to make you, you know, my mod, because trust me. I need you, but I'll figure it out after, not today. So, like I was saying, my uncle brought me to my dad's from the country. And we call one of the parish, we call the country. So, from the country to the town. So, I was now living with my dad and my stepmother and my stepsisters. And it was okay in the beginning. But that was at the age of 8 years old. Like and share, yes, as Ashika said, as Ash and Rana says. Um, thank you, Lord. Yes, brother, 100%. He knows everything. He's with me. That's why I've been so strong, you know. I give him all my praise. So, yeah, I was brought there at the age of 8 years old. And like I said, I was scared to go there because all I kept saying to my uncle was, I was worried that he was going to let my dad know about the incident with my great grandmother and her almost falling. Because everyone would scare me when I was a child. Anything I do, if I got feisty or rude with them, they would threaten me. I'm going to tell your father. Like that's what, you know, people do when they know that your parents are strict, right? So, um, yeah, that's what I grew up thinking that, my dad was just this strict, always serious. And, I didn't have any like embrace or anything from him. I only recollection I have of him is taking me to the country and the fight that him and my aunt had pulling me back and forth because I didn't want to go, and my aunt was secretly trying to take me, you know, to go back out the gate to go back to my grandmother. And he was in the shower and he saw and he came out with a towel around him and just grabbed me, and him and my aunt was just playing tug and war with me. So from that was the last experience I had with him. And then he brought me to the country, and now I was going back to live with him. So living with my dad and my stepmom, it was very strict. You know, we were given the rules. I had to call my stepmom mommy. So up to this day, I call her mommy. I don't call my mom. I call my mom mom, right? But growing up, when I would see my mom at probably the age of 11 or so, 10, 11, I call her by her name, Joy, right? But I don't remember calling her name a lot at all. So anyways, that was the rule in the house and stuff. And I was just a child, I had to go with it. And now I don't mind because my stepmom and our relationship has developed in like a more mother and daughterly relationship now at this stage, because she's like one of the only constant mom I've been around, and caring for me and stuff. She's not perfect, but she's the mom I've come to know. So anyways, living there was very stressful. My stepsisters and I were only allowed to go to school and come back, and you know, school was the most fun. Like I said, I went to Denham Town Primary. Um, I found the most joy there. I had a teacher. She was strict as well, but she was very brilliant, and knew how to teach us and make us smart and able to do the common entrance, the testing that was being done at a certain age. And you know in grade 5 I didn't pass the common entrance because I was going back and forth with my stepmom and my dad and my grandmother. So for a period of time I would stay with my stepmom and my dad, and then At another period of time, I would stay with my grandmother, and my uncles and my aunts and my cousins, and I had more fun there. Hi, good night, Lisa. How are you? I had more fun there and enjoyed it there. It was more freedom, My grandmother lived in what they would call a tenement yard. So it was a big yard with like different families living in that yard, like one house, a board house my grandmother would live in, with like it's just one big room, and it has like 3 or 4 beds. It's that huge, like the living room. Yeah, it would be like the size of my living room. One, probably not even that big, you know, bed over here, bed over there, bed over there, like three big beds. And with, myself and my grandmother, I would sleep on the bed with my grandmother and other cousins and uncles and stuff sleeping over there. And you know what I mean? My parents when I was a child. Yeah, that's nice to hear, Lisa. I know. I wish I did at one point, but not all of us get that luxury, right? And for some of us, it's not even a luxury, because even with both parents, at times, you go through a lot. You just want a family that is loving and caring and provides you with everything that a child needs, right? Doesn't even matter. So, anyways, yeah, so that was going on. So in grade 5, I didn't pass the common entrance because I had so much freedom at my grandmother that I didn't do much studying and stuff, right? So I was disappointed when that test, whatever. But in grade 6, when I was at my stepmom's, it was more strict, and I went to, like, even after school class. I forgot what they were, extra lessons, to study more and, learn more. So I did pass in that grade and proceeded to the high school, St. Hugh's. But anyways, during the time living with my stepmom and my dad would work, and he'd, go working. And my stepmom, I think she was working too, at one point. So it's my stepsisters and I that would be home mostly, and um, my stepmom's brother, right? So we would be in the house, but we weren't allowed to go outside. Um, she would even let, like, people on the building that she trusted know that if we come outside, to let them know. So we were always being watched. In school, they would call us, and the neighborhood kids that knew us, they would call us house rat, you know, because we went nowhere. We would only stay in the house and look outside. So that was very stressful, like the confinement and having to be looking through the windows. And we would try to fight any chance we can to just peep out to watch the children and see what they're doing, and, just watching, and, all that stuff. So that was pretty, stressful. So when I got to go to my grandmother's, or when I got to go to school, those were the most fun times, right? But while at home on Saturdays and stuff, we would have to, do the chores and stuff. Okay, okay. I hear Lisa. Yeah, my dad was the most strict, but my stepmom was very strict as well, because we would get whoopings if she came home and heard that we were outside. Or, I remember getting a beating one time. And Jamaican parents, like, they anything they can find to make a belt out of, they would use. You know what I mean? Says if you find all through that as a child, then what else you can't fight through, right? God. I know I will, Roger. I know I will. If I didn't, you know, get over most of what I've gone through, I wouldn't be able to sit down here and speak about it, because, like, at one point I would just cry tears, living tears, when I would remember certain things that I've gone through, you know? And this is not even the half of it. So, anyways, I had a older stepsister. She passed last year, um, of blood clot. I don't know, in her lungs and stuff. Like, you know, and God rest her soul. And I have a younger one, stepsister as well. She's, you know, we're still here. But the older one, like I said, on Saturdays when we would have to be home and doing the chores and whatever, and my, you know, stepmom's mom would go to the market and stuff, and we're left there and stuff, like, you know, kids being kids, wanting friends over and stuff. We would still make people come over, you know, like secretly make them come over and then let them go, right? Like before we knew they were coming home.
Mama, I ate out of it.
Okay, go to Rachel and let him finish. I'm talking. And then you have to go to bed.
I meant to eat out of it by myself.
Okay. Where are you going now?
To wash my hands.
Okay, hurry up and go back downstairs.
You in the basement?
Mr. Real.
Wait a minute, I ate it
When
out,
you
so
can pray.
I
Trust me, Ashika. Praying, praying, praying. I'm telling you. That's the key to it all. Praying. But I didn't always know how to pray. I would just cry, cry, cry. Right? So, yeah. My elder stepsister would beat the bejesus out of me. Like, it seems like she had a pick for me. You know, I couldn't breathe in peace without her wanting to scratch me up. And I had an X mark in my face at one point on this side, you know, from her nails. Her nails were always long, and she would just always seem to have a pick on me. Once she almost choked the living life out of me, um, because she said something to me about something. I'm like, leave me alone. Why are you always on me? Like, you know, but in Jamaica, leave me alone, you know, and stuff like that, you know, leave me alone. It's always praying on me, always praying on me, you know. Okay. Okay, go downstairs now.
love you.
Love you. Love you.
Have a good day.
Okay, I will.
And night.
I will, Papa.
And don't forget to talk about God in this.
Okay, I will not forget to talk about God. So when you teach them, I haven't always been that good though, trust me. Anyway, so because I'm not perfect either, right? And we'll get into that. But you're skinny, Elisa, you maga. I was bony too small, but I got whooped. Yeah, I get whipped with anything. Hose, electric wire, you name it, we get beaten. You see me? Trust me, yo. But in a way, I don't know if that was the right way, but when I got older, it made me more, I don't know if that's what made me more stay, you know, I'm a home person. I don't like going outside much. Like I make everything to my comfort in my home. And I do the same thing for my children. But when my children were growing up, they would just be in and out the house, in and out. You would hear the door. We had a screen door at the front before the hard door. And they would just be going back and forth, boom, boom, boom. I would say, listen, the next time you come in here, you're not going back outside. And I saw a skit about that before the other day, and I was just laughing, and I showed them, they were laughing because that's them exactly. From skateboarding to everything, riding bikes, they were just in and out, and then they would have their friends. It's like, my goodness, no wonder. I appreciated being kept inside a little bit, just a little bit, just a tad little bit. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, once my stepsister just I said something, and you know, and she just like it lick a chip. She just gets so infuriated. And my stepmom had a makeshift closet, like a plastic thing that you zip up. I think they have it up here too. Yeah. I think I have one downstairs that I bought for my children's dad stuff. So it was a big one though. And it was open, and she was just I was fighting her back, but she had her two hands around my neck, choking me until I started gasping. I was gasping, and I don't remember what I said to her. And her sister, my other stepsister, was, you know, telling her to stop or whatever till she eventually stopped. And when she stopped, she went into the kitchen and grabbed a knife this big and came after me. Yeah, she chased me out the house with a knife that big. And I ran over to the neighbor across from us, and I ran in there and told her what was going on. And that's when my stepsister was at the house, like she didn't come. Yeah. And God rest her soul. I've since, before she passed, I told her I forgive her. I told her I forgave her. Yeah, I told her I forgave her. Because she didn't know what she was doing. I told her I forgave her. So that was that. I went over to the neighbor, like I said, and I sat there and I stayed there. I told her I was crying, and I told her what was happening. I was a house rat too. Did they call you that, Lisa? Because the kids in Jamaica, you know, they're brutal. They're brutal. And yo, that was torture for me. You know, I don't know about my other stepsister, but that was torture for me. You know, it really hurt me because we didn't get to go out to begin with, and then we were being mocked and called names. So that was that. And when my stepmom came, she, you know, she was told, and I think my stepsister got a whooping, whatever. When my aunt, that's my mom's sister, one of my mom's younger sister, came for me, because I would go, even though I was living with my dad and my stepmom, I would go to my grandmother's sometimes on the weekend. And when my aunt came for me, I cried to her. I would cry to her all the time. I would cry to her and say, I don't want to go back there. I hated it. I hated it. I hated my stepsister. I hated it. I hated my dad. I remember once I hated my dad so much that my stepmom overheard me cussing a bad word. Say, I effing hate him. Yeah. I hate him, BB clot. I think that's what I said. Take your time. I know, I'm trying to. And even though some of the things I haven't spoken about in a while, and I thought that I've gotten over it, it's hard. And that's, to do with my topic, right? A lot of things that we think we're over, it's buried down inside of us, and it comes out if we don't talk about it, and if we're not allowed, to get counseling and deal with it, it stays there dormant till it turns out into depression, right? So I would tell my aunt, I don't want to go back there and whatever. At the point where my dad left there at one point, so I couldn't stay with my stepmom anymore. And that's when I went to stay with my grandmother. And that's when I didn't pass my common entrance in grade 5. Anyways, he migrated to Canada. And a little after that, I had to go back to stay with my stepmom. And then I found out we were migrating to Canada. So we migrated to Canada. I had a little sister that was born first for my dad and my stepmom together. Right? It's easier said than done, Ash, trust me. It's easier said than done, and I'm trying, and yeah, I'm trying. And like I said, I've spoken to my stepsister about it. She didn't really respond, but I told her that I forgave her. But she, I think that's deep inside of me. I feel because she's kept so much inside when she had her children and stuff, and whatever she was going through, She didn't talk much. She was always quiet. So I have a feeling that that's a part of why she got ill or whatever, and whatever happened to her. And, because no one knew what was going on with her until hearing that she passed away. Yeah, and that was very devastating for the family and for myself. But back to what I was saying, we migrated to Canada, and we all lived in one house, the family of us, because it was a different families, but uncles and their wives and whatever, and going through that, and then we moved from place to place. Like I said in my first video, we were living in Toronto, same strictness was going on. Couldn't get to go to speak on the phone, and you know, um, went to Brampton, had a little boyfriend, and it seemed like it was okay, for me to have a boyfriend. Spoke to my dad and everything, told him, and you know, things were going on in the house, but I wasn't aware of what was going on and stuff. And we moved back to Toronto, and I started going to West Umber, and it was 2 years after being in Canada that we went back. Okay. I'm the first for both my mom and my dad. My dad has probably 5 or 6 of us, 5 after me, and my mom has 2 more after me, right? With different people, but I'm the only one for them both. After me, they split. So, yeah, so I lived with my stepmom and my dad, knowing siblings, and you know, and going to high school, you know, we weren't allowed to go anywhere. Still came to Canada and went through the same thing. Weren't allowed to go anywhere. Weren't allowed to even be on the phone, make any phone calls, anything. I have no friends. Can't go anywhere at all. Just constricted again, and we went to Jamaica 2 years after being in Canada. My stepmom and my stepsister and our little step sister that was born in Jamaica, that came up as well. I was about 15, turning 16, and I had my birthday in Jamaica. Um, Same thing when we went down to Jamaica. My stepmom would listen to my dad a lot, and that's what happened. Weren't able to go outside and all, certain stuff. My grandmother came for me, and I went to go spend some time with her in the country. But then my aunt came and wanted to take me to the beach because she knew my birthday was coming up with my little cousin. And this was going on before we migrated to Canada. She would come and try to get me to come outside, bring my cousin, my little cousin, my boy cousin, and try to make me come outside for her to buy ice cream and stuff. And my dad would just always be angry and mad at my aunt, and they just never got along. Good night, Jesus Christ. They would never get along. This is funny. Who's Jesus Christ? Anyway, so they would never get along, and my aunt just, would be out there still trying. Till once, I'm going back now, my dad went out there because my aunt was upset and she was talking about it, and she was talking amongst other people, and he went out there with a machete. Yeah. And I heard that we weren't allowed to go outside to see what was going on, but I knew they were fighting each other, and I don't know, I heard that he hit her with the machete and stuff and whatever, because my aunt is a rebel. That aunt is a rebel. And he couldn't manage my aunt. Not at all. That aunt, she's a Christian now, but if he didn't have the machete and stuff out there, I knew she would have kicked his butt. I'm positive of that because she'll beat any man. Okay. So that happened. But when we went down, thank you, Jesus Christ. That's exactly what I'm doing now. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. But that name only belongs to one person, okay? So I advise you to change that name because you're not him. Anyways, the blood of Jesus, get thee behind me, Satan. Like, just stop. Thank you for the message, though. It's a good message. You're right. Anyway, so yeah, when we went back to Jamaica on our vacation, um, my aunt came with my cousin, like I said, because she knew my birthday was coming. Or was it the same day that it was my birthday? I don't remember. But she asked for me to come because they're all gonna go to the beach and stuff, right? So if I could come along, my aunt was told no, and her and my stepmom was going at it, arguing, throwing words at each other, and you know, yeah. I think I'm gonna block this person in a second, you know, if they're trying to irritate me. Strike, I did have a boyfriend. Didn't have a boyfriend until I was 19. Whoa. Baby girl, I was gone before that. Way before that. I was gone out of the house way before that. Let me tell you the story, okay? So, um, yeah, so they were arguing and stuff and throwing words back and forth. And, you know, my stepmom said something to my aunt that at that moment, a few things that hurt my feelings. I've since forgiven her for that. I'm not holding up, any resentment or anything for her for any of these things, that I'm speaking about, you know. So she had said something about everyone bundling up, in one place and stuff, and you know, um, like sardine and stuff, and because I know how my grandmother loved me and the joy. Remember, I tell you, I had like real joy, right? From being and spending time with my grandmother and my aunts and my uncles. It was just the best times ever. My grandmother would cook and sell on the street corn. She would boil corn, fry fish, and from leaving from the struggle and going there, and it was just serene. It was just a great atmosphere for me, all my cousins and my uncles and my aunts. And when my stepmom said that to my aunt, who didn't live with them, she lived by herself with her child and her baby father, like that hurt me. And even that, how much I don't, the pitney don't even know our mother, And because I didn't grow up with my mother, yeah, I'm going to do that. Because I didn't grow up with my mother, I know, I see what they're trying to do. Um, thank you. Thank you very much, Jania. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, the devil is a liar, Yeah. So I was, what was I saying now? Yeah, that hurt me because I didn't grow up with my mother and I really didn't know much about my mother. I only spent, when people would ask me about my mother, I would say that she's very brown skin and she loves to wear shorts and her legs are brown and pretty. That's because that's the image I had of her from spending that little time with her, like I said in my previous live. So that hurt me and everything, and we came back to Canada and I was upset. Yeah, I block him. Yeah, I was upset. Oh, let me see. I can't even. Oh, let me hide it. I was trying to make you the mod. But I can't do it. Put user. I don't know if I do it, yeah, my girl. We do it next time when I figure it out. So Anyways, now we came back to Canada, and I just came back, and things were just going from like a uphill battle, just going from left to right, just sadness and everything. Everything just kept the same. Can't go to. I'm going to school. I'm playing basketball. I'm on the basketball team. Like my father is coming to look for me when I'm not home, and just a restriction. We can't go nowhere. Can't even talk on the phone. I had my little boyfriend, and you know, I can't even talk to him on the phone and stuff. And like it was just stressful, yo. I'm tired. I'm like 16 now. I turned 16 in Jamaica, and I'm like, I think it's time I could have a boyfriend and, whatever, talk on the phone and stuff. Like, and I just wasn't able to do that. Like, you just be watching me. Of course, man. Of course. This is just like my speaking about this is, and this is not all, right? It's just to give someone the courage that is suffering from depression, that has gone through similar things as I have, or even worse, right? And just let them know that exactly that, Roger. You might feel like nobody's there, but our Creator is always there. He never leaves us. We just have to seek Him, call on Him, reach out to Him, and cry out to Him, and He'll put forth in front of us everything that we need to get by. And it seems all easy that I'm saying this now, but it's not that easy. It's very hard. You know what I'm saying? It's very hard. And I'm gonna get to this part now. Came back from Jamaica and going through all of that, and you know sleeping one night, and this was like, we came back in January, and this was like now March, or so, like February, March. My clothes were still in the suitcase, because like I said, when I came back, and I just seemed to just be um using the clothes that's in the closet, in the suitcase, and other stuff, because we went for summer climate, right? Tropical climate. So when I came back, it was winter. So the stuff was still in there in my room. And I loved Michael Jordan. So all I had was Michael Jordan posters on my wall and stuff. And everything was just getting from bad to worse. I was depressed and didn't know it. I was just going through some stuff. So I was sleeping one night, and I just felt a breeze by my lower area. Um, and I woke up, and my feet was set. When you're sleeping and you're on your side, and your feet, one foot is long and the other foot is like set halfway. That's how I was sleeping. And I felt a breeze by my underwear part, like breeze by there. And when I opened my eyes, it was my father moving the side of my underwear and seemed to be looking at my private area. And when he saw that I woke up, he ran out the room, dashed out the room. And I was shocked. I didn't know that I was traumatized then, but I was shocked. And I don't remember what happened, but I went back to sleep. That happened for a period of time, over a period of time. And I felt uncomfortable around him, and I didn't speak about it. I didn't let anyone know. And it kept happening. I would wake up and see him there. I don't know what he was doing, looking what he's doing, but I just was going through too much. At school, no one would know because I was like the regular, going to school, going to my classes, doing great in my class and everything, and just not wanting to be home, trying to spend as much time outside playing basketball, going to practice, going after basketball games and stuff, and hanging out with my boyfriend, making out in the hallways, in the after school and stuff. We would go by the library, sit down, making out and stuff. But I would feel disgusted, about what was taking place at home. And my door, my door knob, and I had like the lock on your door that would, that lock that you push. I don't know how to call it, like a bolt on your door, that you push it and then it locks. Um, I would try everything to lock my door at nights. And by the morning or when I go to school, come back, the lock would be off. At one point, the doorknob would be off. So it was harder for me to lock my door. Um, Once I wrote a letter about it saying whatever was what happened. And one morning I was going to school and my father called me upstairs, and uh, I think he had the letter or something, but my stepmom had gone inside of searching in my drawer and found it and gave it to him. And I was so shocked. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And he was questioning me about it. I don't remember what he's saying, but basically letting me know I can't. What is this? What am I talking about? And stuff like that. Um, that happened. Kept going to school and everything. My door kept. Um, I would tie strings and stuff between the door and stuff, and thinking that I'm locking it and tying up things and tying up. I would try everything, try to tie up so that I wouldn't wake up to see him in my room again. And I would sleep with a knife under my pillow. And I said if I ever woke up and see him in there, I would stab him. I would cut his throat. Um, I don't know what happened, but he never came in my room when I had that knife under my pillow. But when I don't have the knife under there, my door eventually came off the hinges. My door came off the hinges. The hinge, that iron thing, whatever, from the knob coming off, the locks coming off, and whatever I would do. And sometimes in the morning, I would wake up and I would see that my door was trying to be pried open from me, locking, from me, um, tying up that thing on the door. You know what I mean? To lock it, to try and keep it locked. Till that part, the part that I was tying the thing on from the door having no knob, a hole in it, that was gone. Then my door came off the hinge. So my door was there, but it was off the hinge. Um, My stepmom called the pastor and everything when I woke up in the night and I saw him, and I was just yelling at him, "Come out of my room! Stop coming out of my room!" She was up on top of the stairs, and he ran down to the bottom of the stairs to go to the living room, because that's how the townhouse was set up. And I was at the top of the stairs, and I was just yelling at him. I didn't swear at that time because I still had respect for some reason that I wouldn't swear. But when I got older, I felt I wish I had swore at him. I wish I had swore, you know. So, and not even just that, I would be going to the kitchen and stuff, and whenever I passed my dad, he would make sure he brushed on my breast. His arm would brush on my breast. And even one Saturday, um, my stepmom wasn't there, and he came and laid right beside me. And I was running him out my room, like, "Get out my room, leave me alone, get out my room." And I'm like, "Don't," he's trying to hug me and stuff. And that's the first time I've ever felt a manhood, because it was on my leg. Yeah. Yeah. And I ran him out my room. I ran him out my room, but I hated him. I remember once passing in the kitchen, and he actually physically grabbed on my breasts. Grabbed, and I was so disgusted. And for some reason, I had so much shame inside of me that I looked at him and I'm like, and I walked away. But I wasn't strong. I wasn't strong. I was so weak. uh, and I guess that's what's made me like such a angry person later on in my life, because I couldn't fight back then. So I would fight for everything later on in my life when I started having my kids. So my stepmom and I got into an argument because I would always what he was physically abusive as well. He would slap me in my face and stuff, and he was very abusive and loved to hit, and stuff like that. And once I asked my stepmom, "Why don't you just kick this man out of here? Why you have him here? Why don't you make this piece of leave here?" And I got a slap in my face, and she just stood there. She just stood there. She just stood there like nothing. Even with him doing that, she just stood there. You know? And her and I would, I didn't like her. And I remember once, this was the final thing. It was like in May now. And my little sister, she was born here in Canada at that point. And my stepmom had put some clothes outside on the line and asked me to go pick it up. And I'm like, why is she always on me? Her and my dad was going through his stuff, his whatever, his infidelity is going out. He's still going out there and looking women and all kind of stuff and whatever. And, I was just sick. I was just sick, I was just down and out, I wanted to leave. Like a lot of the times when he would come to my room and stuff, and a lot of times I would picture myself going through my window and just leaving, just running away. Like I said, when I was younger in the country and I ran away, like I thought about running away lots of times being in that room, you know. Um, I remember even when we lived in Brampton, because I loved Michael Jordan so much. When Michael Jordan's dad passed away, I cried, and my dad slapped me in my face for that, boxed me like, "We are crying for you know the man." He was so ignorant, and he slapped me in my face, and I stood there, and I just wanted to kill him. I swear to God, I did, you know. But anyways, back to now. Uh, with my stepmom sending me outside to go pick up the clothes off the line. And I'm like, she's just always asking me. My stepsister is there, her daughter is there. Why don't she ask her? You know what I mean? Like, leave me alone. I'm in my room and stuff, and I was passing by, and I think I stepped past my sister, who was like 2 or 3, and she got so mad. She got so angry. She's like, y'all gonna lick down my pitney? Because I don't know what I did, but I didn't hurt my stepsister or whatever, my sister. And she came and she grabbed me and she just started hitting me, hitting me. But she was going through her struggle with my dad and whatever. And I don't know, she was taking it out on me. And she was hitting me, and I just got mad. I was fed up. I had enough. So I was fighting her back and I was punching her back. But my punches seemed like nothing, because she's bigger than me and stuff. And just hitting me. And I ran out the house and I grabbed 2 stones, and I'm like, I'm just gonna slam her with the stones. That's the devil right there. And my dad was around, the side, whatever, sitting down. And I went to him and I said, I'm not staying here. I'm not staying here. I'm leaving. I'm not staying here. I'm not staying here. I had enough. I had had enough. You hear me? I was 16 and I said, I'm not staying here. And I left that day. I went back around, and my stepmom came out, and, he was standing there, and she was saying blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, if you, like, me lick you down with them stone, yeah, you hear me? I was so mad at her and stuff. And I'm like, I'm not staying here. And I went inside and I got the suitcase to pack my stuff. And she took the suitcase and she opened it and she dashed out all the clothes and said, she's the one who borrowed it from my aunt and I'm not going anywhere with it, even though it's my aunt. And I put all my stuff in, I grabbed garbage bags. I was like, oh, okay, I don't care. I'm still leaving. I ain't staying here. I ain't staying here. I'm not staying here. I ain't not staying here. I had stolen before that. We had gone to the store, Zellers, when Zellers was around, and I would never get anything that I want. Like wanted to look at earrings and stuff, and never buy me stuff like that. I'm like, what kind of thing is that? But I didn't understand. They didn't have much money and whatever. But I didn't care. And I stole a tester perfume and earrings. And when my stepmom and I went outside and whatever, the security guard came and ran out. 2 security guard are run, so you see me? And they're like, young lady, take out your pockets and take out your pocket and whatever. And I was like, why? They're like, empty out your pocket. When I emptied out the pocket and the tester and the earring, so they brought me inside and brought me up in the room and whatever. And so that was before that fight. So I had a court date to go to court, but because I was 16, whatever, even after I left, my stepmom still had to come to the court for me because she was there when I got in, whatever, right? Did that. So anyways, that was before this incident where the fight with her, and I said, I'm not staying. So I packed everything and I called my boyfriend at the time, the one that I said broke my heart before I met my children's father, So I called him, called his house. He wasn't there. It was, I think, May 2-4 weekend, Victoria Day in Canada. And his mom was on the phone, and I was telling them, and I'm like, I'm not staying there. I was crying. I'm like, I'm not staying there. I was fed up with everything. I'm like, I'm not staying here. You know what I mean? But his mom didn't know what to do, and he had an older sister, and I spoke to her on the phone, and I said, I'm not staying here. I'm not staying here. I'm not staying here. I'm not staying here. I don't care what you guys are doing. If I have to leave and go on the street with my bags, I'm going to do that. If you guys don't come for me. But I didn't even know his mom. I knew his mom because I've been to the house, you know, and I don't remember if I met the sister or not. What's up, Dion? But I told the sister, I'm not staying. I was crying. I'm like, I'm not staying here. I'm not staying here. And yeah, I think she did. I think she did. That's why when she called the pastor to speak to us about it and stuff, and he was outside, like I said, when I gave the letter and everything or whatever, she had called the pastor because she was starting to go to church then and stuff, and just in the initial of giving her life, to God and stuff. So, but it happened after, it kept happening after that. It kept happening after that. You know what I mean? So, my boyfriend at the time's sister with her baby father came over there for me, and I packed my garbage bags of stuff. And when I was leaving, I went to see my dad sitting down on the side of somewhere, and he asked me, "Why am I leaving? If it's because of him?" And I lied. I said, "No, no, I just don't want to stay here no more." But it was everything. It was everything. Yeah, it was all of that. It was too much. And I left. And when I went to my boyfriend's home, the mother sat rules down and that I had to stay down in the basement. I wasn't allowed to stay in his room. So it was nothing like I was 16 living with he was a year older than I was, I think, or is a year older than I am. And, I had to go to shower. And when I showered, my back was hurting and everywhere. I felt pain for days from the hitting that I received and stuff. And, bruised and just crying and stuff. But I was happy that I wasn't there anymore. I was so happy. And even though his mom eventually didn't like me, because I would just stay in the basement and I didn't feel comfortable. And, you know, I didn't feel comfortable at all. So I stayed there for a little bit and I bounced from place to place. His mom didn't want me there any longer. So that was short lived, a few months or so. And I wasn't getting any money or anything, right? So I didn't have any money. So she had to take care of me. So him and his mom and his dad, they lived together and stuff. So I called my cousin and told her that I had to leave. They don't want me there anymore. And his dad brought me, he helped, he came with me and brought me to my cousins. I was staying with my cousins for a little bit with her and her two children at the time. Or was it three? Three. Yeah, three. But I think the eldest one was living with his dad or something. So I was staying there with my cousin, and she was going through issues with her baby father and for the last two children and stuff. And we left there and went to my uncle's. That's my dad, the one that brought me to Kingston when I made my great grandmother almost fall. We went to his house with his wife to stay there, my cousin and her children, and I know because she had to leave from where she was living. So we all went there. And then when it was time for my cousin to find somewhere to go, I decided to stay with my uncle and his wife because she said, tell so and so that you're gonna stay here because she loved my company and I loved her too, right? So I was staying there with her and everything, and I stayed with her for a period of time. Her brother came from, that's my uncle's wife, so it's not my aunt. My uncle is my father's brother, but his wife, so it's my whatever aunt-in-law. So her brother came up, and he was a big man, whatever, in his, I don't know, probably in his 30s, 20s, 30s, I think. Yeah. And I was 17 then, by then. Yeah. Right. And he was there, and we would talk and stuff. And once again, issues with money. My aunt she knew about the child tax benefit, that if you're under 18, you get that and whatever. So she filed for that for me. So it was transferred from my stepmom to her now. And she was told me that they were going to get a lump sum or whatever, and whatever, I would start getting money, because she was finding it hard to give me bus fare and stuff for me to go to school. And my boyfriend, I was still with him, so he would come for me sometimes, and sometimes he couldn't, and drop me home and all of that. And it was him, I was sharing his lunch and stuff. And we had a good little relationship and stuff, but I had a lot of anger in me. And I saw him getting taken advantage of by his friends, because he drove. He was 17 or 18, whatever. And he drove a long white car, and people would laugh at us and everything, but I didn't care, because he was like, we were driving and they're walking and taking the bus, right? So anyways, that was true though. And we would just, hang out and stuff, and we're going to the same house and stuff. And, you know, you know, for a little bit. But then when I went to stay with my aunt, like I'm saying now, my uncle, he would drive from that distance to that distance to come up there. So, it was it was okay for a little bit, but everything was getting strained. So the uncle in law now, so that my aunt's in law's brother and I got together. Yeah. Yeah. Because my boyfriend and I was having issues, and he had broken up with me at one point, because I guess my anger, he couldn't deal with it. And it happened. And yeah. And my aunt-in-law found out. And because the guy, he um, used a condom, but went into the washroom and said he flushed it, but he didn't flush it. And it was evident. And she went in there and investigation and whatever. And she told my uncle, and she called me in the room to tell me what she found out. And I lied about it and said nothing like that happened. And the next day, um, my uncle, in the morning when I was getting ready to go to school, my uncle saw me in the kitchen and asked me, he was so upset. And he just looked at me and said, when am I going to leave? When y'all leave here? When y'all going to leave? He was just disgusted with me. And I was feisty too, and I was angry, and I'm like, what? I'm like, today. I didn't know. I didn't know what to say. I was hurt, and I was angry too. I'm like, but I was also feisty, and I'm like, today. And I just went to school, told my boyfriend, because we had gotten back together, whatever, and went home, went back to the house, and got my stuff, you know, packed my stuff and whatever. And my aunt-in-law, for whatever reason, was upset with me, and she fought me. She fought me and was trying to take the clothes off my back that she gave me, because I didn't have much clothes when I went to live with her. She was taking the clothes off my back. Say, give me that, give me them there, me gear them and stuff. Yeah, that's what happened. And um, I left there, didn't know where to go. I went over to my cousin, that was my uncle that I was there, his daughter. She had lived across the street by herself, but she was sharing, and I couldn't stay there with her. And she asked my aunt in Scarborough, my dad's sister as well. She asked her friend that lived close by, and I went to stay with her. And I stayed there for a little bit. And I went to spend time with my aunt now in Scarborough, my dad's sister, and thought that I would stay with her and not go back to the friend. Um, but uh, the friend had called me after me spending time with my aunt and saying she's gonna, her mom is coming to live there or something, some story. I think she made up a story because she didn't want me there, and I went there and was moving my stuff from there to my other aunt that lived in across the building from that friend. That's another sister of my dad's, and I was bringing my garbage bags over to there with my clothes, and that's when I met my children's father. I'm seeing that it's 9:15 now. I don't know if you guys want to stay for the rest of this because that's a whole nother story. Because from there, I met him, and he didn't even want to help me with the things that I had, my bags. He came and he saw me, and when I met this guy, he just, hi, what's going on? I just saw him walking with swag and going on, and you know, and wouldn't he opened the door, and I brought in my bag that I had. I think I was carrying 2 bags at a time or whatever, and we went in the elevator, went on the second floor or whatever, and I brought out my garbage bags. And I'm like, I should have known this guy was a damn worthless boy. Isn't it? Because he wouldn't even help me. He just stood there and, hi, GMP. Thanks for showing up. He just stood there and is asking me for my number. And I went inside, brought the bags in my aunt's place, and I came back outside. And he's like, "What? You're ready? You even have a pen?" I'm like, "Duh." I went inside, So from there, whatever. I went back to my aunt. I went back to my aunt in Scarborough, to stay with her. And eventually, I was staying with her, and you know, after 17 and stuff, and graduate, going to I not that I think it was a weekend or two. I don't remember. Like I said, I was fast. It was fast. You know, I went back to his home, decided that I wasn't going to go back to my aunt that weekend. I was going to stay. I already decided that I was going to tell her that I'm going to my friend's house. And that's what I did. And I went to stay with him. And, you know, that's when my firstborn came. We used something, whatever, but then after that, we didn't. And I was scared. I'm like, what if what if this happened to me? What if I get, he's like, no, you're not going to, man. You're not going to. Mind you, he's lied to me to begin with. But it was after I found out I was pregnant that, rumors were going on that he has a child already. And I just asked his mom. I called and asked because my aunt said, "Ooh, you have a pitney already," and blah, blah, blah. But it was a child that his mom was taking care of that he would always be seen with. So I asked his mom once when I called there, I'm like, how old is so and so? And she's like, what? He's only 15. He was 15 turning 16. And I was 17 turning 18. But I didn't know because I'm small for 18 or for 17. So I believed him, but he was pushing his age up. Because when I met him and he was asking my age, I'm like 17 turning 18. Yeah, I'm good, Lisa. I'm good. I'm good. And with him now, he was always in and out of jail because when I got pregnant and when I went to my community, I forgot what they call it, my graduation, commencement. I had found out that same day because I had started feeling sick and stuff. And I went to the doctor and the walk-in clinic and did a test. And the same day I called the doctor and they said that I was pregnant. And I called him and he said, "What?" Or, and he went into a little denial, said that he can't produce sperm. And yeah, if I tell my 22-year-old this. So that's what, anyways, ended up having to go to his mother's house to talk about it. And um, I was there, I went there because he would see me in the elevator and act like he didn't see me. Because, like I said, my aunt lived on the same building, the one that I was bringing my garbage bags to when I met him. So, I would be downstairs by her and I would be looking through the window, watching him out there with his friends, just going on with their antics, driving around in stolen vehicle and all kind of stuff they would be doing. And, you know, but he was very ignorant. And um, it, we spoke to, his mom said to come upstairs because I guess he told his mom. And he didn't want me to have the baby or whatever initially. But when I went upstairs and I spoke with his mom, he told me that, no, his mom asked me if it was true, and I said yes. And he had come inside the house a little bit because I was there and he wasn't there. And he had come in the house and, seen me, and he sat beside me and was saying, his mom told him that she had a child young, her first child, and his sister had, her child young too. So, we don't do those things and blah, 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 and whatever. And it was okay after that. But he was young and he was young, like I said, and he was very mean. And he ran me out of his house once because after wanting me there, he didn't want me there anymore because I would go over there and stuff. And um, the night of my commencement, his mom came with the person, our friend, and my dad was even at my commencement and my stepmom and stuff. But because of all of that I had inside of me, um, I wasn't happy that he was there. But he heard that I was graduating because my stepsister and I were the ones um, who kept in contact, the one after me and stuff. And they were there in the commencement, and you know he was there, but I didn't feel comfortable. And after the commencement, he thought that I would come and take pictures with him and stuff, but I went to my friends and took pictures with them and stuff. And he was upset and angry and stuff, but I didn't care. I wasn't living in his house anymore or anything. I didn't even like my dad at that point, so I didn't care. I had all the hate and resentment against him. So I went back with my children's father's mom and her friend, and I stayed there. And he was supposed to be there or come to the commencement too, but he didn't come. She said that he went to help someone move and stuff. And the next morning, boop, 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 Popo knocking on the door. He has been arrested, not even knowing that the boy was out of a um, young boy's home and knocked me up and went and did something. And the boy them grabbed him. The police got him and he was in jail. So I was pregnant for 9 months without him and living with my aunt at one side of the city and leaving every weekend to go spend time with his mom. So, anyways, my son was born and everything, and said that we're going to live together. Nothing like that happened. His mom wasn't having it. All of a sudden now, he's too young. He's too young. He's too young to do stuff like that. And at that time, I think he was then now 17 or whatever. Yeah, I turned. I was when I yeah 18, turning 19 after when I had my firstborn. So because this was like the October I got pregnant, had him the next year, June. Um, and yeah, he came out and everything, and he would be back and forth, but he was wild. He's wild. He's very wild. Um, and we would have issues and everything, and then his mom lost the place, and they ended up living with me in my one bedroom. And you know, he would just be back and forth. And even though his mom and his brother lived with me, he was out there, HOE, ing, okay? He was doing that. He was out there doing that, being his little old self. So, yeah, so it's like I knew and stuff, and just going through all of that. And he was abusive too, um, because he knew he was stronger than me and whatever, and think that he's some kind of man or whatever. And anyways, there were good times, there were bad times. His mom started showing some face and going back and forth with his sister on his father's side, and telling pure stories about our home and stuff, and what I'm doing, that I'm working and on social assistance at the same time. And he was like, we would find out some little things that she was doing, and it was just so upsetting. And we moved from there, and we moved together. Him and I moved together somewhere, and his little nephew came. And um things were going good, so good. We're living together now. And um I was like 19. How old was I? 2021, something like that. Probably 2020, probably 21 or something. And that's when I got pregnant with my second born. Right? So, yeah, I got pregnant with my second born. His mom wasn't living with us um, any longer, because she didn't like the fact that we found out that she was bringing news to his sister, his half sister, and the sister's mom. So we moved, and she wasn't come. We didn't. I didn't want her to come with me anyways, but she snooped her way back. She came to my door with her clothes on hangers and everything, and him and I were in the living room, because when I was pregnant with my second born, I was so sick, 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 throwing up everything. And she came there with her clothes in hand, and he looked at me and was like, just leave her, just leave her. So she started living with me from then for 4 years, and she made my life a living hell. She made my life a living hell. She made my life a living hell. She did everything she could do. Yeah? Oh my goodness. She did everything she could do to turn my life upside down. He got physical with me, and I had a black eye. I called the police on him. He ran away. He left the house. She was right there, right there. Um, he got arrested for something else on the street, and she told the police beat him up, and she told everyone that I made the police beat him up after he beat me up in the house and stuff. She told everyone, though, that I made the police beat him up. And she would talk about me on my phone in my house and everything, you know, pure stuff. We reconciled. I moved from there. I know. I don't know why I didn't. She lived with me for 4 years. 4 years. And when I moved from that place and I got housing somewhere, assisted housing, she moved with me too, not paying rent or anything. And she drove my life a living hell. She did. And I, you know, I couldn't deal from finding out that he came home, and then because he got arrested, he was just always in and out, always in and out, always in and out. And I couldn't deal anymore after finding out that he brought a girl to my house, because my son, the first one, said that he brought somebody. He brought my son to some girl's house, and the girl gave him hot candy. And I was working, and I was talking to my son on the phone, and my son said that, who is it? Is it so and so? And I'm like, what? And he was trying to hush my son, and I was speaking to my son, and he's like, um, I'm like, who is that? And my son told me, and he's like, yeah, she gave me hot candy. So I left work that same time or whatever, but I minced his close up. His close up. He wasn't home once, and when I called him down, I looked every number. I was looking in his phone thing, phone bill that came to the house, and I was looking. I was calling every number, because I'm like, that's it. I don't want him here. Calling every number, and when I call a number that he was frequenting, me a detective, and when I saw the number that he was frequenting, that spent a long time on, I call it. I would that me hearing in the background. Him in the background sounding like man out of the house. I'm like, yeah, that's what's going on. I grab my scissors and I cut everything up in the closet. I slice it from the bottom, go straight up. I slice everything up. I ran the scissors through everything and draw them out and throw them out my house. I sliced everything, even the CD. I broke every CD that I love CD and be playing pure rap music. Every CD I broke it in half. Pop, pop. I was popping. Pop, pop. Every clothes, even the pants turned into skirt. You know the car wash thing rags that go like that on the car. That's how they looked when I was done. Shredded. Even the shoe I put the scissors through. I was cutting his Jordans. I was cutting everything. Everything was scissor. What I couldn't cut, I burned. And I threw them outside. And his mom came and saw them and called him, so and so, don't come here, and warned him. And when I would have his password, I listened to his message once, and I heard the mom messaging him to tell the girl that he cheated on me with, that she found a place, but she have to call it the mother. The mother was planning with the side chick to find place. You see, when she and still there my yard. You see, when she come on my yard, I just tell her to get her RASS out of my house. I just tell her take her things and come out of my house and drop my key and get lost. And that's how me get rid of her. Because he had already gone. He was already gone. That's how I got rid of her. But as you can see, it didn't stay there because I have 2 more children. So after that, he got in a big old mess and ended up spending 10 years behind bars. I was finished with him. I was done with him then. I did. We were separated for a while. I left him. He was gone. He was gone. He was gone. She was gone. You think that's it? She was gone and he was gone. He was already gone before, but she was still living there because I wasn't going to kick her out like that, even though she was doing all these evil things to me in my home and reporting back to him anything. Yeah. And he got in trouble. Yeah, he spent that long there. And it was a big thing. And he was being looked for and stuff. And it didn't feel good. I was sad about it. And I left a message on his phone to tell him to, bring himself in and stuff and whatever. But I was hurting. And I don't know why I still wanted things to work with him, but, it did. I went to see, we spoke and stuff and whatever, and he asked me if I'm going to be there with him and stuff and be there for him, and I did. That's how my daughter came about. Yeah, while he was there. Went on family visits. We get a little trailer thing to spend time with family for like a 3-4 days, and doing the family thing and just me, and I didn't have any issues about no girls and stuff and nothing like that, and I was still young and whatever, and came like while he's there. Um, in the year 2008, I was feeling so depressed. I was feeling so alone, and everything started coming down on me because I was doing well before that. I was working, um, you know, my children were in daycare. I felt, liberated, and I was doing well and stuff. And he was there behind bars, but I was just living and taking care of my children. And his mom would just pop up whenever she feels like, pop up at my house, anywhere I live. She would pop up there, and she would stay for however long. Yeah, I would always forgive her. And she would stay for however long she felt like, because my children loved her. My two boys loved her. And I was diagnosed. I was going through some stuff where I couldn't understand why I was feeling the way I was feeling, stomach and everything hurting and everything, and panic attack and all sorts of stuff, and going back and forth to the doctor. And I'm like, what's wrong? Like, do I have cancer? Do I have this? The doctor do pure tests and tests, and everything coming back normal, and everything is good. And she came there once and, made me a tea and said, Nikki, me make some tea for you. And I drank the tea. And a little bit after that, it wasn't the same time, but it's like I got a massive headache. I was getting some massive headaches where I felt like my whole body was sinking down in the bed, and I was so scared to close my eyes. My head felt like it was ripping off my head, my body, and it was just sinking down. And I was so scared. And I asked her, she had come one, that weekend or whatever, that time. And I asked her if she could take the children over to her house, because she was back and forth as well, losing place and stuff. And, she came to my house that time, and the way I was feeling was very, it was like no other. It wasn't a regular headache. It was a headache like I was dying. And she said fine, she would take them, and she brought them over to her house and her apartment. And when I went over there, his nephew's baby mother came and saw me there, and she would later curse me about that and say, her seeing me at so and so's house, laid out in chair, popping pills, because I was diagnosed a little after that. After going and doing all this tests, I was diagnosed with depression and was now on medication. But that same sister-in-law has come back to tell me that that mother-in-law had professed to do anything to somebody, anyone who tries to come between her and her son. And from I was diagnosed 2008, I left that city and I went to a different city with my children. And when she came there, everything went uphill, downhill from then. The people, she spent a weekend, because it was Christmas time, and the children's father was coming out, because I had already went to see him back and forth and had my daughter in 2004. In 2002, I got my grandmother up here. My grandmother didn't stay. She was always sitting down with my grandmother in the room or wherever, in the living room, talking for hours, talking. She'll chat your ears off. My mother and my sister, I brought them up. I would still bring my children to go spend time with her at her house because they loved their grandmother. She would let my children know as soon as I go to the elevator that, I'm a witch. My children would come back and tell me, Mommy, you see when you leave? And as you're in the elevator and the elevator is going to go, Grandma's like, that witch! She listens for you to go to the elevator and go down. And those things would pass me, and I would tell their father, and he wouldn't believe anything that I say. He didn't believe anything that I say. And I kept letting my children go to her. I don't know why. And because her son would always try to convince me that it's their grandmother and blah, 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 blah. And I don't know anything about voodoo and obia. And when I left from that city and I took my children far away, she said that to that baby mother of his nephew, that anyone that tries to come between her and her son, what she's going to do to them. And last June, last May, she gave my son a vase to give me for my birthday. And I ended up in the hospital after that for 2 weeks, under 90 pounds, battling for my life. And I've been praying from 2015 when I started really suspecting from all the things that I was seeing going on back and forth, him coming back and forth, him coming in and out of jail. And when he come home, he can't even stay home. He has to go there. Yes, like every time she would call him, his nephew would be calling him for him to come over by them to stay with them. And I'm like, what's going on? Because our fourth child is now here, right? When I was pregnant with my fourth child, she would always be sending food over for me because I was very sick. I was so sick, so sick. So sick, couldn't do anything, couldn't even cook. But I wouldn't eat the food because she couldn't cook. I would ask him to buy food every time he leaves work and stuff because he came home and we were doing so good. And that's why I said I was going to have a last child, my baby now, the 6-year-old, because he was doing so good, from spending so many time back then, whatever. And, we were doing real good. We were living as a family, going out for dinners, doing everything, just working on our life with our children and everything. But it wasn't long lived because we got rooted up from there. And like I said, when I had moved first with the first 2 children and my daughter, the first 2 boys, to that city where she came and spent the weekend, the last place she ever spent time, when she came out the shower and I went in the washroom, my whole washroom was full of powder on the ground, powder everywhere, because she always be using powder. Always be using powder. And nothing happened, nothing clicked to me that that's what was going on until starting to praying to God and crying and asking God to help me. When I got rooted up from that place, came down to a different city, then because of him coming to live there and doing whatever his nonsense, we got rooted up from there. We were moving every year or every 2 years. I was moving. And you're right, Lisa. I finally found out last year for a fact, and from everyone else that's been telling me what she's saying she's going to do to me. And even my children are turning against me. But we work, and I pray, and I pray, and I cry to God. And I praise him and I pray and I pray and I ask him to come down in my life. And in 2015, I dreamt that an angel came shooting through the sky with wings and no feet, just a white garment. And when I turned to the left of me and opened my eyes, it was my window I was looking at with the sun glaring in my eyes. And I started revealing and telling him everything, and telling him even about a man seeing me outside with my son in the car and reading me from outside my window, telling me everything that's going on in my life and how my children's father and I just can't get along. It was set that way. We shouldn't get along. We should never get along. You guys are always fighting. He's always incarcerated and you're trying to get a house. Everything that happened, I would let him know. He would tell his mom and everything would just be destroyed. 1 minute we're good. Next minute it's just pure turmoil. And I went on social media and started talking about it. And the whole of the African nation was on my Facebook. I had over about 5,000 people on my Facebook at that moment because I was speaking about voodoo and everything and what I experienced. And everyone had me as being crazy because they knew that I suffered from depression. And I've gone through stuff in the past. And I prayed to God and I went in my prayer room and I prayed to God to help me. And my children's father went into jail. His nephew went into jail and she had a stroke and in the hospital. And when she came out, because I didn't know then, that was 2015, he still convinced me to bring my children. And my 2-year-old at the time came home to repeat her yelling in the house, "Me, I go kill you!" And even though I told their dad, he still convinced me to bring my children there. And I'm still having a fight up to today with my 2 eldest boys to deal with this lady. But I pray to God and I tell anyone who's suffering from depression, don't keep this to yourself because they will try to send you into your grave or clinically crazy so that people could look at you as you're the crazy one. So when she sent that vase to my son in May of last year and told him that, and told me when I spoke to her about it, that it's my birthday gift, I still wasn't aware until speaking to someone who knows about this voodoo thing and letting me know that that was my coffin. I ended up in the hospital for 2 weeks battling for my life. And so did my 22-year-old. But God is working, and I've since put him at the forefront because weed, marijuana was my go-to. Marijuana was my go-to. I smoke like a chimney to relieve my pains, all of my pains, everything I've gone through in this world. But I say all of that to say this: it doesn't matter what you're going through. My God is real. Don't make me cry. I serve a mighty God, and no weapon formed against me shall prosper. So don't be afraid. Don't have no fear. No matter what you're going through, no matter what they say to you, God is real. He sits high and he looks low. He's my Redeemer. He has never left me. He will never leave you. Even in the battle, when you feel like you have had it all, I praised him in the hospital. I promised him I would serve him. I asked him to take away my anger because I've hurt my children when they were younger. I had a phone, a cordless phone once, and I was trying to teach my 5-year-old, the second born, something about school, and he wasn't getting it. And I went like this with the phone, and blood was spewing out of his forehead. And I had to hold my hand on it like that, and I cried. And I was asking, oh my God, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? And I ran for a towel and put over his head to hold it. And I think he still has resentment up to this day for me about it. And my son, the 22-year-old that went in the hospital with me, he was being rude once. And I would always spank my children on their butt and on their hand and stuff and lick them with belt on their, beat them with the belt and stuff. But I didn't know what I was going through. I didn't know that it was all the hate and resentment I had in me from all that I've gone through. And I beat him with the belt and wailed his hand up these parts. When you look on these parts, he had the belt wail and stuff. And I remember him crying. And I find it hard sometimes when I think about it, and I wonder if I caused him to be hurt. But I put it all at God's feet. I put it all at the cross. I lay it all at the cross. Because I don't want to go to hell. Because I've been through hell and back. I've been scrutinized. I've been made fun of. I've been called crazy. All of that I say to say this. Don't you ever give up on yourself. I'm a fighter. I will never give up. And I will always praise God because He brought me through every single one of those traumas. And He's gonna bring me through for the rest of my life until it's time to be with Him at His right hand. Hear me? I didn't try to cry. But that is my battle and my struggles with depression. Don't sit down and worry about what anyone is going to say. Speak out. You don't have to come on social media. But I feel comfortable speaking to you guys instead of speaking to my family and friends that have used it to curse me and tell me about my rapist father, my father raping me and stuff like that. I've had that told to me by somebody. But she has another problem. She looks like a man, so she's hurt. But I forgive her as well, because she know not what she speaks about. And I'm not looking sympathy from any of you guys, because as you can see, I'm strong. But it's not because of my own will. It's because of all that I've been through and all that God has brought me through and all that He will bring me through. Because the fight is not over, but the battle is not mine. It's the Lord's, right? So I will not fight flesh. I give it to God and He directs me. And that's all I have to say to you guys. I'm thankful that you guys came to listen to my story. And I just hope that it uplifts you. If you're going through anything like this or have gone through worse, to not sit down and take it, but to speak out and fight for your life. Fight for your life. Don't give up. Fight with every breath, every strength that you have. Fight. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming and joining me. And just, continue to follow me, and I'm gonna try and give you good stories and fun stories, because that was my biggest battle, speaking about my depression. Have a good night. Love you guys.